Oh, looks like we're live. Hey guys, we got Cully, we got Klaus, we got Juanjo trying to make his way in here in a second. He's having some technical difficulties, but he should be here in a minute. We got some feedback from someone.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, that was me. You should be fine now.
And we've got Eric Canete.
Yay!
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Hey, Eric. How you doing?
That sounds so good. We're having issues with Juanjo's sound. It sounds like you're right next to me.
Me?
Maybe.
I sound like right now I'm right next to you?
Yeah. Do you have a specific mic?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why.
It sounds fine to me.
Yeah. No, he sounds good. It's Juanjo's having sound issues. But welcome, everybody, to another fine day.
Why are there two people named Klaus Janson on the screen?
Because Klaus has got two cameras on him. He's got.
Why does Klaus get two cameras?
Because he's
That's
Klaus
right.
freaking Janson.
Yeah, he's freaking Jason, Klaus Jason.
Yeah, which one of you is Klaus Jason?
Listen,
I
I'm
was-
okay with one camera. I don't know why.
No, I think because we want to see your work in stereo, Klaus.
Oh yeah, thanks.
You want that shit in digital, not in analog.
That's right.
Eric, you sound very smooth this morning.
Do I?
Yeah, kind of smooth, like smooth jazzy kind of.
Oh, yeah. I just woke up. I just got through with a screaming match. So,
Oh.
You had one too? We had one as well.
you and Cully? You and Klaus?
Me and Klaus. He was upset that I misspelled his name in the promo, and he let me have it.
Did you really?
Yeah, so I had to show
You're
him.
a scumbag.
I had to show him who's boss, and I put him in his place. That's why my voice is all sore.
I'll tell you, of the people who are in this chat right now, Klaus is probably the easiest name to spell, so I don't know how,
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
That's my auto spell. It didn't do it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna blame it on you. Hey, Christoph. Hey, Kevin. Hey, Achim. Thanks for coming in and joining us today. Hopefully, Juanjo will be back in a second. He's gonna be showing off or working on his thumbnails for the next Black Sad book. So that's pretty exciting.
I just, forgive me if I'm late. I just got a brand new a Sony Handycam that I was trying to figure out how to get video feed out of, and it took a little longer than I thought. Still don't have it up and running, but it's going to be, I think, by way of video quality, going to be so much better than what I have now.
It looks pretty good. Let's see.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah. But I mean, no, it really doesn't. It looks garbagey. But thank you very much, Jen. I've just seen the version of I can't remember. It was either a YouTube person that I follow or a Twitch person that I follow, and this is the equipment that they have. The only hang up is that I'm working exclusively on the Mac, and they might be on a PC, so it's not receiving a digital signal from the camera into the machine. So I had to fiddle around with it for a little bit more, and then by the time I looked up, I was already about 5-10 minutes late. Forgive me.
Well, dang.
I prioritize video quality than the stream.
Well, looks pretty good. What are you gonna be working on before we?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Those
I wanted
pages
to
look
do the-
amazing.
I wanted to do this Captain Marvel thing, but I'm not 100% happy with it yet.
Which Captain Marvel?
The original. Is
Yes.
it Jim Starlin? Is it Jim Starlin?
That's not
Is
the
it-
original. Damn it.
Which one's the original?
The one that says Shazam is the original.
Oh no, I'm more of a Marvel kid, dude.
Yeah, that's not the original, man.
Yeah. No, I'm a Marvel kid. I don't know anything about DC.
We're gonna.
What's a-
that
what's
wasn't
a
even.
Bat-
That was.
What's a
that was-
Batman?
Huh? That's a Batman. Yes, it is a Batman.
What is that where the Batman goes?
Right. You and I can't be friends now.
We can be friendly, but not.
True.
I'll take it.
Okay.
What are you working on, Cully? While we have you.
I think I'm trying to do a Black Canary today.
All right.
Are these all commission based that everyone is working on right now?
Everyone has a few commissions on their list. I don't know if this was one of your commission requests, though, Cully.
It is not. I just decided to do it.
To do
Yeah, I've got a commission. I've got several commissions to do that I'm going to do after this. But this is what I was feeling right now.
So speaking of, can we get a link to everybody's commission information, Jason? That way people who are watching can actually, if there are people watching.
Are there people watching?
That's very negative. I feel bad.
There's 21 people currently in the room.
There you go. Of those 21 people, should any of you be interested in getting an original commission from Klaus Janson and Jason?
Klaus Janson.
Klaus Janson. Or Cully Hamner. Don't get a commission from me. That's a big bad idea.
You don't want to commit. You want a commission from Klaus Janson, Cully Hamner, or Eric Canete.
Eric Canete. Any one of those people.
We've got a few guests in. Mark Giarello's in here.
What?
Drawing.
Mark is already starting to throw his weight around. He's like,
Cully owes me a drawing. Mark owes me a living.
There it is.
Mark, it's so good it's good to see your name. Oh, hey, Anthony is there.
Hey, Anthony. Hey, Christoph and Neil.
Hey, Anthony.
You know, it's fascinating. You know, this is probably Klaus's first stream, no? Second stream, all right. Still a gentleman. You know, in second stream, still a good guy instead of like the cynics that's in here with him.
What happens on the third stream?
I don't know. I don't think, right. Yeah, that's one. The other one is I don't think you can get away from your character, Klaus. I think you're just a good guy. So people walk in, you say hello to them, you shake their hands. Jason poo-poos on them.
That's half the fun.
Jason poo-poos on them.
Yeah, but Eric, there's a time limit on that. You know, I can only do it for like an hour or two. You know? Yeah, that's it.
I'll sign off with you.
Yeah.
We all will.
Yeah.
Haven't you seen me at conventions? Come on, dude.
You're all smiles at conventions.
That's not true. I've seen Klaus lose it a couple of times.
Did you really?
Sure. Or I've seen him get grouchy.
And
in the most endearing way, of course.
I'm a crap.
Sean's in. Mr.
What up?
Oh, crap. Does everybody know Sean Crystal? Klaus, this is Sean Crystal. Sean Crystal is Klaus Janson.
I know Klaus.
Cully.
Of course.
Cully, Sean. Cully.
Does anyone truly know Sean?
I think you all know me intimately.
Nope. I'm gonna cut that off.
Maybe not as much as you'd like.
I'm working on it.
No.
Sean,
Juanjo says hello to you.
Mystery, okay?
What?
Juanjo says to say hello to all you guys.
A little mystery is good, Sean.
Is it Klaus? A little bit?
I think so, yeah.
I'll leave a little bit for you. Not
It used to be civil.
Thanks.
Sean walked into the place, jacked at the decibel levels.
I bring life to the stream.
That's not the L word I was thinking about, but
What were you thinking about, Eric?
this is a Christian stream. We're not going to say that out loud.
No Jews allowed. Is that what you're saying, Eric?
In the classic spelling, yes.
Well, this took a turn.
It's hilarious.
Because I'm here now. Jason, you were saying something? I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, Juanjo got booted, but he was saying to say hello to everybody. He's going to try to get back in here.
Oh, got it.
Is it internet issues? Is it equipment issues?
We're not sure. He's not sure if it's his Wi-Fi. It was working perfectly fine earlier.
I think it's oh wait, he was already streaming, so you could tell the quality of his stream earlier. Okay.
Diane says, "Hey, Sean." I don't know if you read that, Sean.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Diane. It's going in the mail early next week. So I'm glad you like it.
So is Chiarello starring?
Yeah, where's Chiarello? I asked him last week and he ignored me. Hey, Elaine.
What, you asked him to be on the stream?
Yeah. I was like, hey, why don't you come and hang out with us?
I asked him that also, and I didn't get a straight answer out of him.
That's how he says no.
I know.
We're gonna have to bug him a little more.
I spoke to Brian Stillfreeze, and he wants to do it, but I just got to get him to do it.
All right, let's bug him.
He can have my spot. I'll go right now.
No, you have to be on when he's on.
Oh, that's so optimal.
So you're starting Captain Marvel, Eric?
Restarting it, yeah.
Restarting it?
The original Captain Marvel?
Knock it off.
And looks like Klaus is starting to ink a Batman.
Ooh, I like that.
And I think we've got Juanjo trying to get back in here. So let's see if we can get him.
I'm only here for a little bit because I got to get a podcast going.
Oh, a real podcast.
Oh, I see.
I didn't say that. You said that.
I see. You just
I only said what we were all thinking.
just
Spit it out.
Laura Martin's in.
Laura!
Hello, Laura.
And looks like Juanjo's in and showing some prelims of his.
Yeah, put that up on the screen, Jay.
Let's see if I don't know if he can hear us so well.
I think he understands that we respect him. Who just chuckled?
That was me. That was me.
Diane is sending notes to Laura. I don't know if Laura's still there, but
I think Diane has left me for Sean.
she's found another.
What does that mean?
She I think those words are pretty.
Explain yourself, Cully.
I would much rather not. I'd rather be mysterious.
How's everybody's week?
Productive.
Yeah, I would actually I say that I would say that my week has been more productive this week than it was the last couple of weeks before.
Is it because you are psychologically settling into the idea of being in quarantine?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep. I think people's ability to cope often move at their particular speed, but once it happens, people are just kind of get used to a different kind of normal, you know?
Yeah. I've gotten used to the cage.
Now, had you been very social previously, Cully?
No, I'm a hermit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a hermit.
So what was the biggest change for you then, outside of
It's
obvious cloud of...
Well, I mean, first off, my girlfriend's home a lot more now.
That's
cooking-
right. Oh wait,
cooking
are we on board of that, or I don't know how to feel?
Oh yeah. No, it's fine. It's just it was a change, and there's also I would say it's not that I'm home all the time. It's that the opportunity to leave is now gone.
Got it.
So
again, psychological, right? Like it's not as if you were much of a party goer.
Not at all.
But it's the idea that now that you don't have that option to do so if you want to.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Eric, did you have an adjustment period at all?
0%.
Or have you been pretty
0%. 0%. I hate the outside world. I'm barely able to tolerate this, and this is only like community by contact. How about you, Sean?
There you go, Cully. Hold on. I'll answer one sec, Eric. Diane just said, I only have a place in her heart when I do a question piece for her. So you're still her number one color.
Right. And see, the thing is that she's offering you the opportunity to do it, which I'm not sure that I appreciate. See? See what I'm saying here?
Yeah, I see.
She's saying that the option is there for you.
God, I hate this.
And I'll take it. I will gladly take it. Eric, what did you ask me before you ripped that up?
He ripped it up.
I forgot what I asked you, man.
Okay.
Something about going outdoors.
Something, Sean, do you care? Something.
So you just don't care. It's basically the gist.
Oh, yeah.
It was just meaningless small talk.
It was small talk. It was chit chat.
Oh, you downgraded me from small talk to chit chat.
I chit chatted you. But yeah, no transition. Wait, you didn't have issues, did you, Sean?
As far as like lifestyle?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean the only sort of change for me has been like the kids are like we're all when I'm not at the studio, everyone's just home all the time.
Yeah.
But the only real change was the gym is closed. So now I do yoga in my art studio and I go out for runs, and that's really the only change. So that part hasn't bothered me. It's getting to Steph a bit, but I'm doing okay.
No, it's not like she can't leave the house, right? There's nobody out with,
they go out for
automatic.
walks, but there's
I'm
nowhere.
gonna say.
I mean, there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. Like we all go for walks or runs or whatever, but like the kids don't go to friends' houses.
Right.
And it's not like Steph's going to see her friends at their houses. Just everyone's kind of staying apart from each other. So,
What an incredible concept that now we're forced to interact with our family. We find it off-putting.
it's not that. It's just it's four of us in a tiny space on top of each other a lot, and we've had some nice stuff going on, but at times it gets you feel a little cramped.
But that's what I'm talking about, right? Like, we've gotten used to the idea that we need break from family.
Oh, I think any healthy relationship needs breaks. Apparently you don't.
Apparently you can't.
What was that, Jay?
Well, you can't have any breaks is the problem. Not for another, what?
What's New York's cutoff time?
Well, they just canceled school for all of New York for the rest of the school year. So the school year's canceled. But
Yeah.
they say initially Broadway is going dark until June 7th, but that'll probably be extended. So April, May. So another month and a half, 2 months.
So your side, is it as, what do you call it? Everything that I read online, it sounds pretty dire over there. Is it as dire as everyone makes it out to be? Because the way it sounds, people are just dropping in the streets.
Well, no, they're dropping in. My brother's girlfriend's a nurse in Queens at the ICU. She said it's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
They have to bring in refrigeration trucks to get the bodies out of the morgue doesn't have enough space. So there's ice trucks.
Well, and there's mass burials that apparently they're doing.
Yeah.
It is. That sounds morbid. I'm sorry for bringing it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of homeless people who are dying, obviously.
Gotcha.
No one is claiming, their bodies. Wow, that is grim. Jeez. Okay.
It's the way you delivered the message. You could have done it with a smile, Klaus, but instead, you did it kind of downward.
Yeah, Klaus, talk about the bodies with a smile.
I really am.
That's okay. It's only on your second stream. We'll get this right by the third, and it'll be okay.
Klaus, Mark wants to know if you're speaking to your cat. Are you still speaking to your cat?
Can Mark hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me. Yeah. Mark, my cat died a few years ago.
Oh boy, Mark Chiarello, get out of here! Get out of here, Mark.
He had cancer.
That wasn't the question, Klaus. The question was, are you still speaking to your cat?
Hey, Cedric. Cedric's here. He says, happy to see great artists during his lunchtime. He's a nurse. So thanks for
Hey, Cedric.
Thanks for doing your job, man.
All the best to you.
Cedric, where are you at?
Where's Cedric at?
Waiting for a response. Let's see.
All right, I'm gonna take off. I gotta go set up.
All right, Sean.
Okay, see you later.
Nice talking to all of you briefly.
Sean, see you later.
Bye, Klaus.
See you later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Get out.
Get out.
Okay, now that guy's gone.
We talked about you. Hello. Actually, Cully, Mark's asking if you're speaking to your dog.
I always speak to my dog. She's the only one I have to speak to most of the time.
Oh, thank God that went that way. Because if Cully had said, "Mark, my dog,"
I just killed my dog.
that would have been so bad. Mark is 2 for 2.
Mark really has a way with people.
Let's see. I think he's going to do a podcast with Tommy and Mateo.
Mark?
Who is? Mark?
No, Sean.
Oh.
I was gonna say that's a bad idea, Mark. Stick around here. Have you heard what those podcasts devolved into? Klaus, have you ever been on Sean's podcast before?
Yeah, I did one. Yeah.
Yeah. How was your experience?
I liked it a lot. I thought it was one of the better podcasts because I generally think that they kind of stink in general. I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about that. But, it's good talking to another artist, I think.
Yeah.
That's definitely an advantage. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I think
do you
it's
guys
in.
think of podcasts? What do you think?
In general,
Yeah. Or your
it's,
experience with them.
Sean's is the only one I have a tendency to enjoy, and oftentimes it's because he's inebriated and also because of his company, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, there is that. Yes.
Right. And then
Yeah.
in most cases, I think it's fascinating to see artist processes, right? But what I'd come to find, let's say 6 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10, because of the specific, depending on the specific artist, obviously, but let's say that in that general broad stroke, artists have a really hard time articulating. I don't know what that means. Like, there's a way that I think the reason why Sean's podcasts work is because Sean knows how to guide a conversation. Like, he can tell when somebody is struggling, and he lobs a lot of questions that allows them to talk about themselves. But for the most part, left to their own devices, artists have a really difficult time articulating whatever that's going on in their head.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's like we're interior people, I guess. I don't know.
I would say.
When I did Sean's podcast, I will say it's probably one of the better interviews that I've been able to do. Actually, it might be my favorite interview. I shared a little too much, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think you shared too much, Cully, but I think you shared, and that's why it was a good podcast.
Did you hear it?
Yes.
Oh,
I listened to it before I committed to doing one with Sean.
That's smart. That's really a lot of good vetting. That's really
Let's
smart.
see what he was able to do to Cully before I commit to this.
Well, I think that, whenever I get an invitation to do a podcast, I generally try to listen to the podcast beforehand.
Yeah, that's
and then
smart. That's smart.
I base my decision on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought Sean did a good job, and he knew when to probe, and he knew when to shut up. And I think
That's
a lot of podcasters don't know how to do that.
Right. Well, there's a way that Sean can carry that. I don't know why. The first couple times that we were doing this stream, Sean was sort of struggling. I think it's because he knows he needs to be the host, right? He knows that he needs to be sort of the person that carries that conversation. Whereas in the stream, he's just kind of like, I'm one of the guys that's streaming, So, yeah, I think that's my overall consensus when it comes to podcasts. I listen to the person who's conducting the interview, and sometimes they don't have the personality to do it well, but Sean does.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that I find, and you're right about Sean, by the way, I agree with that. But one of the things I find about podcasts is that it oftentimes becomes more about the interviewer than the interviewee.
Right.
And I just skip that right away. I don't need to listen to somebody else's ego. I have my own, stuff to deal with.
Right.
So
I would have to say I sort of feel in some ways it has to be, in the sense that the person doing the interview has to be strong enough to drive the conversation, but still let it be about the person that he or she is interviewing.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I remember reading. You ever read The Late Shift? It's about the whole kind of struggle between who was going to get the Tonight Show, David Letterman or Jay Leno, and all that.
Sure.
And there's a quote in there from Johnny Carson in which he just says, "Just always remember that these shows are about the guy behind the desk." And I don't think he meant that in an egotistical way. I think he just means that the active ingredient has to be the guy behind the desk in doing the interview.
Sure.
The interview is still about the person he's interviewing, but he has to be the one taking the active part in getting someone to talk.
Right. And I think that's integral.
And I think Sean's really good at that.
Yeah. I've listened to a handful of the guests that he's had, and in conversations that are offline, he'll mention to me, "Boy, that was a tough one to do."
Right.
Because it was so difficult to sort of get anything from them. Because Sean has a loose sort of outline of what the kind of stuff that he wants to talk about based on his understanding of his guest, obviously, which is great.
Yeah.
And then he gets to the moment of, and he knows how to roll with the punches that the figuratively speaking, the person who he's talking to, right? But when he goes through his list of questions and he can't get anything out of a person, boy, I was like, man, that's got to be really tough, And I think, and you're going to have to confirm with him, but I think there's a handful of these interviews that he's done that he's never bothered releasing because it just felt, it just wasn't yielding the sort of conversations that he was looking for.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. I feel like the one that we did, I felt like he had a list of questions, but we so easily fell into a conversation that he threw the list away. Yeah. And there were probably some things that I hit in our conversation that he was going to ask me, but he didn't have to ask me because I just sort of, went right for it. To me, those are the best conversations. And, the fact that I've known Sean for such a long time made it a pretty easy interview to do. Also, I was very tired. I'd had no sleep the night before, and my guard was really down.
Yeah.
So I talked about things in that interview that I am not given to generally talking about.
Huh. Such as, I didn't listen to it, obviously. Such as.
Well, go listen to it.
I'm not going to.
I'm not talking about that here. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Go listen to it.
There's a question for you, Eric. From Remington. Hey, Eric, I like the way you and Andrew push perspective on characters with low and high angles. I try it occasionally, and it never really seems natural. Maybe I'm pushing too much on, maybe I'm pushing too much, or the gradual enlarging of legs, etc., isn't proportioned correctly. Mm-hmm. What do you keep in mind when pushing your perspective close to the camera?
That's a great question. Oh, I'm expected to answer it. I'm sorry. That was a great question. Okay. Here's the thing. You have to understand anatomy, right? But you have to break anatomy in spite of it, right? The thing that ends up working against people when it comes to like push proportions, especially when it comes to like whatever, when it comes to a camera lens affecting how warped a limb will be, a torso, a whatever, is that they keep trying to interject anatomy into it, which is I think it's a fair goal. But sometimes there is a line, and this probably comes from my animation background, where you have to abandon it while still having an understanding for it, right? I've seen people go like, well, that leg would never work that way in real life. They're absolutely right. They have me on that. But it's the emotional and or weight space that figure is occupying that you have to land better in spite of the anatomy getting in the way. How do you do that better? I think it's going to be primarily through trial and error. If you're already looking at my work, if you're already looking at Andrew's work, that's a pretty great start. But also look at what I did back in the day was freeze frame a lot of animation when it comes to like old school Disney, right? Because there is this sort of push and pull, squash and stretch technique that they were using. And oftentimes I was landing on either the stretch pose or the squash pose. I rarely do the person just standing there in the model sheet pose, right? It's a lot of observation of why, and this is the integral part, this is the critical part, why that thing feels like it's existing in weighted ground. And I think that's what Disney lands the best. Trial and error, observation, and intent. So pay attention to those three things, and I think you'll get better.
Cool. I'll do that.
You were typing on the side, weren't you, Cully?
Me? No. By the way, the guy that just asked that question, Remy, used to be an intern at Gaijin.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, good guy.
And after all of that experience and the group of all of those artists, they taught you nothing.
Nope, not a thing. Obviously.
They left you to yourself.
Pretty much. That's how it works.
Welcome to Gaijin. Go sit in that corner.
That's right.
Well, I'm sad we lost Juanjo here. Maybe he'll try to get back in. He's having technical difficulties.
I can imagine. Now you're saying it was working just fine beforehand.
Yeah.
And but he was in this broadcast room beforehand and everything was working okay?
For a bit.
Mm.
When in the pre-lobby with me and Klaus, we were able to hear him and he was able to, converse with us. But then either his Wi-Fi went down or something, or the bandwidth just wasn't strong enough.
I noticed that the trouble started when I came in the room.
Quote unquote trouble.
It could be.
This is a guess. It's probably going to have a lot to do with the fact that this thing is still being funneled through whatever. He's doing it on his iPad, right?
And his phone, yeah.
Right. So whenever you launch this browser, and that's the reason why I was asking you for that, for the broadcast, whatever number, broadcast code, and then the password to get into this room so that I can use the native app that is Zoom to get into this room, right? To get into the broadcast studio, is because this thing still needs to push through Chrome. And as ideal as that is, it's still clumsy, right? Because it's still working very, very hard to push through a web browser and then finally out to whatever internet connection that you have.
So you're saying if you download Zoom, it'd probably be a little better?
Yeah. It'll be better optimized for him to stream.
On his phone or his...
Well, he has his iPad hooked up to his phone, right? Then that's the thing that's streaming out, right? Right? He's using his phone as a hotspot.
Right. I know he's using his phone. Well, he was on Wi-Fi and then he took that off. And it worked for a bit, but it kept crashing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm going to guess because he clicked on the link that you sent to everybody, and
Yeah.
now it's funneling through a web browser, and now it's funneling through his phone, and then that has to go out. Yeah, that's a lot of extra steps for technology to go through.
It's a lot of funneling.
Like the video quality on, as I'm looking at it through the web browser, is kind of clunky for me.
well, we're looking through Klaus's iPhone at the moment. And if we go
Yeah,
this is through his computer, which is a little better, but
right.
not really in frame. And then there's a Cully hand.
Okay, we're gonna start this thing for the 4th time now.
Number 4.
I'm being generous. This is probably the 5th or 6th time.
What are you talking about?
I think I have a good pose, and then I go to sleep, and then it sucks.
Oh, you mean the drawing? I didn't know
Yeah.
what you were talking about. You just need to accept that only you think it sucks.
Huh. That's very well put.
On the other hand, you wouldn't be so great if you did that.
I was about to say something super egotistical, and I checked myself, and I thought, like, isn't that my opinion on that art is probably the primary one that I take into account, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I thought, as I rolled that footage in my head, I'm like, oh, that makes me sound like a dick.
But the thought is there, so you are indeed.
Yeah.
A
The
dick.
difference being is that I didn't broadcast it,
But you just did.
Personally, internally,
You broadcasted it after the fact and admitted that was, in fact, your feeling.
But I had enough self-awareness to go like, huh, that's probably bad.
Yeah. You couched it in slightly less offensive terms, is what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
That's impressive. Enough of this verbal judo.
It's not working either. Okay, last time.
Did Klaus just yawn? Was
He
that
did.
Klaus? Are we boring you, Klaus?
That was a yawn. He can think of 3 or 4 other things he'd rather be doing with his Saturday, but he's here.
But he would never say it out loud.
No, I would not. I got up too early this morning.
Which is at what hour? That's too early.
Did you get up too early or did you stay up too late?
No, I got up too early. You gotta get up early and go to the grocery store and before the crowd comes.
You know what? I gotta say that's exactly when I can't go grocery shopping is in the morning on Saturday right now, because if you're trying to social distance at all, it's impossible.
Why?
Because the aisles are only so wide and people are only so considerate.
Okay.
And even if it's a very wide aisle, people just don't think about it. You can be standing there with your gloves and your mask on and everything, and people still just walk within 2 feet of you or reach around you to get something, and it's like just a big pain. I went yesterday, actually at about 4 in the afternoon, and that seemed to be kind of the perfect time.
Because people are probably thinking everybody's going to be there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right. And there were people there, but not like there were even an hour later when I was leaving.
Now that you've announced it, Cully, you're in trouble.
Yeah, all those people at my local supermarket who are watching this live stream, they now know where to get me.
I was thinking of getting a T-shirt with the words, "Hey, 6 feet, asshole."
But people are just going to read that as you having a 6-foot asshole.
Only you would say that. Or think that.
Well, see, if Jason made the shirt, he'd misspell it, so it would say 6-foot asshole.
6 foot. I'm a 6 foot asshole. Which is far from the truth.
All right, I'll put a comma in there. Just
Commas are your friend.
That's hilarious.
Have you seen that photograph from a young Japanese lady who happened to wear a jacket that has a bunch of little pokey sticks that's about 2.5 feet outwards from her body, just so people can.
No.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's sort of being a porcupine in a way, right?
They had the porcupine suit on, and I thought that's creative and effective. I appreciate.
You have to appreciate the inventiveness of some people.
Yeah. Now, are they still? I hope this isn't too personal, but have they kept you all working still? Is everyone still working?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I actually have. I have a normal amount of work for me.
Wonderful.
What about you?
Yeah.
So like no production that affects you is shut down or anything like that?
The industry that I'm in is actually benefiting from people being at home.
I would imagine, yeah.
Right?
That makes sense.
But are you seeing, Eric, are you seeing the immediate effects of that already?
In what sense, Klaus?
In the sense that people are obviously, staying home, playing video, and looking for entertainment online. Are you seeing the effects of the quarantine already in terms of your business?
Not at all. There might even be an uptick.
So you're busier now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, everyone is rolling with the punch that is this thing, and I think in as far as the entertainment industry is in general is concerned, the people who are impacted the most are the ones that need to have boots on the ground, shooting film, having a full-on production, a production roster, right? Like personnel that are actually holding the boom mics, holding the cameras, and so on and so forth. Who is not impacted, I would think, are people in animation who typically sit behind desks, who can do this all digitally, you can all do it on computers and so on, right? It's business as usual for them, except for, hey, you've got to now go do this at home. And because of that, I think there's a handful of productions that are going to be leveraging the fact that there's opportunity now for people who are still craving content, even more so now than before.
Oh, Eric, I've heard, and tell me what you've heard. I mean, I've heard that the process of acquisition is continuing, but the actual, shooting and development and getting things greenlit are obviously slowed down. Is that what your experience is?
Yeah. Well, from what I've come to understand, green lighting things, yeah, it has. I mean, it's if it was slow before, it's anemic now, right?
Right.
But the acquisition part hasn't stopped, only because they're projecting to what this thing will look like. I think the last month that I heard was November. Right, because everything still has to normalize on the financial front first, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then they can start saying, okay, well, here's how much money we can pour into it. But November is where they're.
And November being what? When they actually start up again, shooting stuff and
Nope,
minimizing
I think it's
social. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think what they're looking for is where. So as the world sort of relaxes, right? It's ultimately about money, right? Where are they going to get the money to make all these movies, right? Make all these productions, put these productions into actual, start coming up with budgets. And before any of that, before any of the stuff can get greenlit, they need to make sure that there's money that they can use in order to pay for everybody, right? And conceptually, ideally, they're saying November.
Yeah, I heard that too. November, Thanksgiving time, when things might be lifted. It's good knowing you guys. Had a good run.
It just has this amazing trickle down effect, and it always has to do with money first. The impact of shutting down a bunch of different places for the concept of public health. I don't know if they have included the idea that it's not like it's not like an on and off switch, right? It's not a binary concept. Things need ramp up time.
Right.
So in as much as you obviously want to protect your citizenry, you obviously want to protect your neighbor and make sure people are alive and healthy. I'm not sure they are accepting of the idea of how quickly they can get the economy back on track again.
How quickly or how slowly?
Oh yeah, well, either way, it might be.
I think you're absolutely right.
Some of the stuff
there are almost too many variables, don't you think, Eric, to be able to make an accurate scenario at this point?
Yeah, because it's still, like I said, the word that I keep hearing is like, as soon as all of this relaxes, not goes away. That's not what they're looking for, right? They need to see the pinprick of light at the end of that proverbial tunnel before they can say, okay, now we can start planning, right? Yeah. Some of the measures that I've been hearing are super draconian too. And like, wow, you have no idea in that how stalwart you are in that concept of like public safety, public health, of how much it'll impact our economy moving forward. Everyone, nobody is immune from it. Everyone, like some people might have longer tails for it, right? They may extend how much, how far out they can be impacted, but eventually you will. And so let's be careful, but also not overly careful.
Well, overly careful to the point of not being able to make any sort of decisions about anything, Sorry, Klaus?
Say that again, Cully?
I was saying you don't want to be overly careful to the point where your decision making is paralyzed, but you definitely don't want to, be.
Well, any of those decisions, obviously, and I think you all agree with that. That it has to be fact based and science based.
Well, yeah.
We have to actually look at the data before anybody makes any kind of a move. But I've been hearing more and more in the last couple of days about the tracking and the what they're doing in Singapore and China.
Yeah, I read about that also.
We're talking about the app, right?
Yeah, the app where basically they want to keep track of who near you might be diagnosed, right, or that sort of thing. They just want to keep a track on everybody.
Right. So essentially, I would imagine that before we actually open up, in air quotes, I mean, we have to have a means or something like that app. I was listening last night to the problems that schools are going to have and offices are going to have, and the fact that we probably need to take everyone's temperature before they enter a building, to see. And that's such a massive undertaking. I don't see how we're going to be able to ramp up in the next, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Just to be able to get those, thermometers out to everyone, and the testing that's involved, and it just seems so daunting. I mean,
I don't know how I feel about that, in the sense that there's a certain amount of I would think expanding testing might be a little bit of a better idea. I mean, the idea of having to try to stop it before it happens just seems to me to be kind of like how, taking off your shoes at the airport and that sort of thing. It doesn't really do anything. It just sort of makes people feel that they're being more prepared, but it doesn't really accomplish anything.
Yeah, that's exactly the analogy that I was about to make. Like how I use the TSA as we have an understanding for it now. How long did it take for them to get that up and running? It wasn't overnight, right?
Yeah.
And there's still a question of its effectiveness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think I think we're going to be doing things for the sake of doing things in the name of something, in the conceptual things of how it can work. But whether or not it's going to be effective, I don't know.
I think it's something to make us feel more secure in the sense that, well, I know we're sinking, but at least we're paddling, and I don't know if it necessarily will do anything.
Yeah, oftentimes, and this is keep in mind this is very pessimistic. This country has a tendency to not look at the symptom. They have a tendency to treat the symptom, right?
Yeah, that's exactly
Rather than pay attention to like what's causing the problem. They'd rather go build the lung machine,
Yeah. What do you think, Klaus?
I I don't disagree, and I find that just to be discouraging or disheartening, because it doesn't need to be like that. I think this country. I don't want to get into a whole long thing because I tire myself out, but I think there's just so much. There's so many smart people in this country, and there's so much willingness to solve problems that I just don't think that we need to be in a place like where we are right now.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I find that it's a failure of imagination on the part of the people that we bring on to lead us, and maybe it's because we're not selling it hard enough, or the people who are experts are not selling it hard enough. I don't know. I think it's fear on the part of leaders with what will fly with their constituents, or the constituents that they really want anyway.
Yes, I think that's right. The idea of actually people leading seems to be so outdated at times. Yeah,
I agree.
Hey, Hassan, how LB, we got some new viewers in. Everyone's saying thank you for joining us today and streaming. So, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming in. Taking the time to sketch, hang out, and talk.
This is my social life now.
This is what we do. We had a virtual Seder the other night. That was the first.
A virtual what now?
Did you really, James?
Yeah, I thought being together having the Seder was boring. This was even more boring.
Wait, you had a virtual what, Jay?
What are you talking about?
Passover Seder.
Oh.
Well, you weren't the only one.
No, a lot of people did. I guess the good part is that we can just mute it and go watch the news for a bit and then come back and check in with everybody.
So your irate uncle, you could just mute.
Yeah. Well, he didn't show up. He didn't show up on this round, but yeah. No, it's better than not, I guess, doing something, but still kind of strange.
It's amazing how quickly the idea of a Zoom Seder evolved. I mean, it was like instantaneous. Everybody did it.
Yeah. We didn't have the proper ingredients for the Seder, so we made do with the peeps and chocolate that we had on hand, and made up our own biblical history from the last two.
Did you really? You did not.
Well, I did, but I don't know about the rest of the people. It was more fun in my head.
I can imagine.
How's your family, Eric? Everyone doing okay? How's your mom doing in the Philippines?
She's good. For whatever reason, it does not like. My mom is profoundly afraid of death. Like, just the idea of it scares the hell out of her, right? But in this situation, not once has it ever come up. Oftentimes it's like, oh, Eric, I'm getting old. I'm really scared of death. I'm like, okay, well, that's, I get it, right? But now she's just talking about, Eric, do you think you can buy me an SUV? I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I can, Mom. This is a nice change of pace for this conversation.
What kind does she want?
I don't know. I think my mother is living out a version of her retired life, and God bless her, that she's now starting to see like, hey, maybe it's, as I'm making the turn towards the big unknown, maybe I should spend a little bit of money on myself. And I'm like, yes, Mom, whatever it is that you decide, you should really go and get.
Enjoy.
You can't take it with you.
Hey, Cully. Scott says that's a great jubilee.
Hi, Scott. This is my relationship with Scott now.
You bring all of your baggage with you, Cully.
I do.
You bring them all in here to us.
You're welcome,
Cully needs to be decontaminated.
I think that's true.
There needs to be a process of delousing first, I think, for you.
Well, I'm just offended.
Protect yourself, but also protect us.
I'm very easily offended. You should know that.
Is it true offense, or are you feigning offense?
Oh, I don't give a shit.
There it is. There it is.
There it is.
Now, I've been listening to a handful of people talk about this, our distribution. Well, what am I saying? I haven't been drawing comics in forever. Oh, wait, that's a lie. I have.
It was only a few months ago.
Just I keep forgetting about that, and that's no dig on Mark Millar, but I really have forgotten about it only because of everything that's been happening at home. I've been reading into a lot of the single point of failure distribution system that we've had and how it's come into the most abrupt, harshest spotlight in recent times. And boy, oh boy, am I embarrassed for everybody that's involved, and also heartbroken.
Yeah.
I was just reading online. One of the publishers said they're just not going to deal with Diamond anymore. Not one of the major ones, a smaller one, but they just direct to fans and retailers from now on.
I'm similar to earlier. The note that when somebody asked me about it, I'm like, there are a lot of smart people working behind the scenes on how to make the comic book industry sustainable long term in the new geography that it has to deal with. I am flabbergasted that none of that has come to pass yet, that we've still implemented this version of how to get these books out into people's hands, knowing full well it has all sorts of failure space. The failure space below it is so deep and so vast. Why they hadn't taken jab steps into building an infrastructure that's sustainable for the long term.
Well, I think that it's like someone who has a horrible diet and is in bad health. A lot of times they won't do anything about it until they have a heart attack.
That's a
You
good
know, and
point.
I think that's kind of where we've been. It's like this industry, everybody complains about the health of the industry, but no one seems to want to do anything about, the things that are not healthy, like having, like you said, a single point of failure in our distribution system.
Right.
And sooner or later, something was going to happen. Not necessarily this, but something was going to lay bare that giant flaw.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we've always known about it. We knew about it when it started. That having a single distributor for this market was a bad idea. But that's where it is.
I wonder if it's because there is a lack of a forecasting. I'm not in those rooms, and I wish I knew. I wish if there's a handful of people. I wish to know if there was a handful of people over the years that somebody raised their hand and said, "Hey, are we at all thinking about what 2010 looks like?" 2014, 2015 looks like when things are changing so dramatically in as far as our consumer is concerned, our baseline consumer is concerned.
I wonder, and I wonder if I think that the forecasting was there. I just think that you also this is a business that's a lot like herding cats, and getting one company to buy in, getting all the companies to buy into what one company says is the best thing for the industry to do is a whole other thing.
That's an interesting concept, because in my head, maybe it's to, again, this is coming from a completely uninformed place, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, but you almost don't have to care about what everyone else is doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your singular focus is your fan base, yes? If you're saying we want to get these books out into our readers' hands, and you maintain that as your guiding light, as your true north, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why you would need to line up everybody else and say, "Hey, do you believe in this too?" Right? As a major publisher, you would say, "Well, this is what we are going to do."
Well, and I think that's what's going to happen. Is even though putting aside the idea of getting everybody to line up, it's going to take a major publisher to say this is what we're going to do before everybody does line up. Somebody has to take that leadership position, and I think we've seen even just in the last couple of weeks that a solution is not going to bubble up from the bottom. It's going to take one of the major players to say, "This is the move I'm making. You can either deal with it or not."
Right. I am glad, in whatever capacity, they're breaking that the exclusivity contract.
They're going to have to. I mean, even beyond just the temporary situation we may or may not be in, they're going to have to survive. They're going to have to try to figure out some other way to do this than the way we've been doing it.
By the way, just anecdotally speaking, I heard a friend of mine has friends in Scholastic publishing, and their digital has tripled. Their digital sales.
I don't doubt it.
But I haven't heard any data from anywhere else. This
Yeah.
is the first thing that I've heard. But tripled, yeah, that makes sense, right? I mean,
right.
So I don't know what's going on at Marvel and DC, but at least this one company or this one publisher has said that it's gone through the roof. So
I have Marvel and DC don't seem to be the kind of companies that share data like that. You know.
But they must have it, right? Are you convinced that they have it?
Oh, I know they have it. I know they have
Okay.
it. You know,
All right.
that is there's just no way they don't. I know too many of those people, and I know that they're studying these things. I know they have market data. I actually sat through it's been a few years, but there was a presentation that they gave to a bunch of freelancers that they invited to a summit once.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of it was market data and demographics and that sort of thing. It's obvious that they are doing the research. They just don't talk about it very often.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, and they're not at any obligation to be able to talk about it.
Exactly.
But with that sort of information in their hands, something must have, it must have been glaring, like every time that you come up with any sort of endeavor to have any growth or outreach, something must be slamming right up against that concept and saying, we can't do that because of this level of exclusivity that we've afforded this one particular company.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's bonkers crazy. Why that's the thing that you guys kept doing,
Well, it seems like a lot of what we recognize today as the comics industry is built on a series of short-term survival measures that took hold. So it's like the direct market itself came about because the newsstand market was collapsing, and we had to figure out where to sell these comics. And,
For sure.
And that simply became the market. And
right.
This entire time, I think that I know for a fact that, the larger companies are like, they made a lot of decisions based around the idea of, but we don't want to hurt our brick and mortar retailers because we need them. And it's true, they do. I mean, they need them.
They do.
But they tread very gingerly over that territory. I think that's why you've seen, that digital has not been a lot cheaper than it is, because they don't want to kill their brick and mortar retailers.
Right.
On the other hand, I think that we've gotten to a place now where they recognize that the audience for digital and the audience for print are two separate audiences, or at least they've developed that way.
For sure.
One does not really affect the other. That's why a lot of the hand wringing over, lately about the whole comics hub idea and everything was a little disheartening, because I think there's a feeling on the part of a lot of retailers, and maybe it's valid, I don't know, I'm not a retailer, that it would kill the print the print retailers.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that that's the case, but there's no way to really know, is there?
Right.
Well, let me say, one of the things about the brick and mortar stores is that I think people overlook is that they have other means of bringing in customers. Oftentimes they are a part of the community, and they have Dungeons and Dragons and card games, and there are
They've had
other
to.
ways. Pardon me?
I said they've had to do that.
Yes, but it shows that there is a certain amount of flexibility in their ability to survive. And, I fully expect, a bunch of stores to go out of business. I think, just like, restaurants are going to go out of business, and grocery stores or movie theaters are going to go out of business, right?
Right.
But there is some viability there to adapt. And I don't think all of the brick and mortar stores are going to go out of business.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that, everybody needs to recognize that, we are on life support, and everybody is going to have to take a hit. Everybody.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of speaking out of fear, but sooner or later we're gonna figure something out.
Well, I hope soon.
I think Klaus should hand deliver all the comics he works on from now on.
Would you do that, Klaus?
For you, yeah.
Oh.
For
For
Eric,
certain-
no.
Yeah, that's smart. That's a good call.
Wow, Eric.
That's a
What did
great
you
one.
do to Klaus?
No, I just think he has in any given time, he only has a glass full of energy, and he wants to spend it on the right people. So I get it. I get it.
That is so true.
Wow.
I love it. I'm glad you know me, Eric.
I'm the same way. I'm the same exact way. I
That's right.
used to overextend myself so much for a lot of different things that didn't really ultimately pay off. And delivering comics, that's a chore.
It's a fun chore, no?
Kind of. Kind of.
Not so much.
I don't know. I've had the fortunate opportunity to be working in an ancillary matter with comic book related things, and the more I step away from it, the broader the picture becomes, and it's exactly what Cully said, which like they had to have identified it, they had to have known, but they did nothing about it, and that breaks my heart. Because there's so many people who are so passionate about drawing it. Like I'd come to recognize that I love comics, but I love just being on the outside looking in, right? Like I love it. It was my childhood. It was my reading material of choice coming up, and I wanted to be in the industry only to realize I don't think I'm cut out for it because I'm not fast enough. I don't, the stuff that's being put out nowadays, not necessarily my cup of tea. I'm sure it's somebody's, and I wish them well for it. So yeah, it was time to sort of like step aside and let the people who are ultimately super passionate about it to go and work. But the more I did that, And because I have an affinity for it, the more I start asking the questions of like, why are you doing that? And not really getting good answers for it, except to say, well, this is how we've done it for X amount of generations, X amount of years. And then you ask, like, but are there conversations about sustainability, just long term, right? Where are you projecting to? 5 years from now or 10 years from now, right?
Yeah.
And when that's very basic. That's a basic concept of I think any business / industry. Where are you projecting outwards to, right? And when it falls apart in under a month, 2 months.
Well, I mean, to be fair, though, I do have to say, though, it's not that the business. I mean, it's halted. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, yes, it's sort of falling apart, but I mean, a lot of people, the entire economy has been halted.
For sure. That's
and
fair.
I don't think anyone anticipated that there was a situation in which literally the entire economy would screech to a halt.
100%. I agree with that. Right.
Yeah.
What I have but to what the situation has come to point out is like, oh, that's a very pretty car, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then somebody popped the hood and said, like, whoa, there's nothing in here. This thing is being driven by a
No, I agree. I agree. I agree with where you're going. What I'm saying is that it's just the impossible happened.
Yeah.
The thing that nobody thought was ever going to happen happened.
Right. Yeah.
We should be prepared for the impossible a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, shouldn't we?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's a reason why when there were analysts that were projecting to a version of this, really, really high profile people saying, hey, we should prepare for this level of a pandemic, that just, well, some people turned a blind eye because they said, what's the possibility of that happening? Right. And I don't think their argument was, oh, it has 100% possibility of happening. Right. What they were projecting for is like, you want to be prepared for it happening.
People don't hear that. I don't understand why they don't, but they don't.
Yeah. Sure.
It's just, there's a real suspicion of expertise in this country that has come about. And I'm not sure it's not always been that way, but it's certainly at its worst right now.
It may go back to what we were talking about earlier, is that in any given day, a group of people only have so much energy they can spend on whatever it is that they've decided to prioritize, right? And they go and prioritize that, right?
Yeah. Sure is quiet.
Sorry, I was muted. I was talking with Mo. Hey, Wayne. Wayne says that is so cool, Cully.
Thank you.
Wayne, it's for sale. You can buy it.
Pandemic or not, I love the fact that Jason is still on message.
Brian says that pose, Cully, is next level and streets ahead.
Thank you.
Levels and streets. Dude, that's where you're
Levels and streets. Levels and streets.
at. All right, team. I'm going to need to excuse myself. You all have a wonderful Saturday.
See you, Eric.
Okay.
You leaving it, Eric?
He's out.
He is gone.
Let's see. I asked Dave to come in and chat.
Dave Johnson?
Yeah. Looks like he's busy, though. Let's see. Everyone's busy. Let's see who else is around. So I think we're going to hear next week that San Diego Comic-Con is canceled.
I think you're probably right. I think it'll be the biggest non-surprise that we could have come up with.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be a shock to anyone.
No, not at all. It's just
When is that supposed to be? August? When was that scheduled for?
July.
Oh, yeah.
July. But I guess I could use the deposit money back for the hotels. So that'll be a benefit.
What I'm curious about is, how willing are 150, 160, 170,000 people going? How willing are they going to be in that space even next year?
Oh,
You know what I mean? It's like I think that we're about to see a paradigm shift in how we deal with each other. Like how willing we are to be in big spaces, if it means that, because I mean, let's be honest, this is not going to suddenly go away. It's going to be something that we mitigate to the point of livability. It's going to be something that probably flares up every now and then.
well,
Don't you think, Klaus?
Yeah. Well, the thing that I think about too is under the best of circumstances, even without COVID-19, there's the con crud and the fact that it is so transmitted so easily, after a convention, and so many people get sick. I mean, I agree with you. I think the other question is how many creators are going to feel confident.
Well, I mean,
this isn't a risk.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I know, Greg Capullo has asthma. And
right.
I think he's like, I'm not going to do any shows until I can be sure that I'm not going to die,
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah. I think we need, obviously we need, a vaccine, or we need, therapeutics, or, we need something to give us a little bit of a confidence that we can weather this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to go away in a week or two or in a month.
Well, it's also not going to go away suddenly. It's not going to go, even if we do this for a year, there's not going to be a day where the all clear is declared. This is going to be a process to even get back to a semblance of what we were used to.
Yeah.
Yep, we're gonna have ESCon at my house. So yeah, Wayne, you can come down and we'll have a convention in my basement. It'll be fun. I think that's where.
Somehow that doesn't fill me with confidence.
But we talked about doing the smaller shows.
Yeah.
With the guys in the group. And
you mean just for health's sake?
Yeah. Well, if we just do one with 20 guys and only do it the local Holiday Inn, for 100 or 200 people during the weekend.
Yeah.
That might be good. But I did. Cully, can you see your screen?
Yeah.
Jason Pearson just posted this.
Oh, what did he say?
You puny.
Oh, that picture?
Yeah.
Jason, Jesus Christ.
It's a good picture. Look at that head of hair.
What's that?
A good head of hair.
Yeah, you know what? I had an amazing head of hair. The bulb that burns twice as bright burns half as long.
I had a nice hair too. A nice little rug on my head for a bit. Klaus had the best head of hair.
I've seen old pictures of Klaus. I remember this actually. There was an interview in Comic Scene back in the '80s with Klaus and who else was? I think Bob Layton was in it. It was basically an Inkers roundtable interview.
Oh yeah,
Do you remember this, Klaus?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had that. I must have reread that interview like 1,000 times.
Was this before you turned pro or what?
Well, I would hope so. I think I was probably like 12 or 13.
Oh, okay, sure.
Klaus is like, yeah, well, grumble, grumble, grumble.
No, I'm happy to hear that I was an inspiration to you.
You were. There's no joke. You know you were. I think I told you that, right?
If you did, I probably forgot it.
Oh well, then forget I said it.
Yeah, you know I'm a humble guy, right?
Hey, that's blue. That's fine.
Let's see. Remy said he made a comment. I think I missed it though. He said, "Hey Cully, I have to say I squandered my opportunity at Gaijin. Dumb kid, I suppose. What are you gonna do? Thanks for the shout out, though."
I mean, I don't think you squandered it. I mean, is it too late? You can still draw. You can still work. I mean, nothing's stopping you, right? He was a talented guy, though. Let me tell you. I'm presuming you still are.
She writes to Cully, "What was the article where 5 different inkers inked the same Hulk pencils?"
Huh?
There was some sort of article.
You asking me?
Inkers, yeah.
I don't know. Who's asking that?
She.
I don't know. The same Hulk pencils?
I'm trying to get Juanjo back in here. Hold tight. Bear with us.
What was that?
Klaus is getting aggressive with his art.
Are you scratching that, Klaus?
Yeah,
Old school.
yeah.
I love that.
I do too. All right, that's enough.
Is it just a razor that
Yeah, it's how they used to do like rain effects and things like that,
Yeah, it's great.
I made a little guide for myself. I'm using this. This is an old school. I mean, it's a not a protractor. Like what do they call it?
I don't know. I can't really see it.
Yeah, you put it down like this, and you can, draw circles with it.
It's a
I don't know
circle.
I don't know why I'm blanking on what you call that.
It's a compass.
A compass. Yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah.
It's a large one where you can do I can do table size circles with this.
Oh yeah. Let's see.
But I just put these down just so that I could have a little bit of a guide.
Okay, guys, I think I gotta go. My cell phone is running out of battery.
All right.
All right. See you, Klaus.
Yeah, I see it. It's yeah.
I hope I see you again.
Oh yeah, of course. You can't get rid of me. You think this Corona thing is gonna stop me?
No, I don't think so.
Yes, sir. All right, guys.
See ya.
Jason, I'll talk to you later. Cully, I'll see you next week. Yeah.
See you, Klaus. Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
cool.
Bye-bye.
Very good.
I'm almost done with this, so we can wrap it up here in a minute.
Yeah, wait there and
Yeah.
trying to. Juanjo's pretty frustrated. He couldn't get his gear running.
You know, it happens, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find a workaround for next time. Can't even log into Zoom.
I think it's getting time to refill these markers here.
Yeah. Do you have some refills ready to go?
I've got some ink.
That's so frustrating. Oh boy. What are you doing the rest of the day?
I have some other commissions to do, actually. I have to finally finish up David Bixler's Batman Deathstroke commission. I sent him the rough for it earlier so he could check it out. It's actually for his son.
Yeah, he's a Deathstroke fan.
Yeah.
Rod just added some commission requests for all those listening in. He just had gallbladder surgery, so
Cool.
Okay, but looking to raise some funds for some medical expenses. And the link is also right here for anyone interested. Yeah, I'm told I can use Zoom. That the StreamYard uses Zoom as their foundation, but I don't know how to actually use it. Hey, Frederick, how are you?
All right, there we go.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks, Cully. Appreciate it.
Oh.
Hope you had fun.
I did. I always have fun with you guys, as you know. All right, so what time is it?
It is 2:30, so hour and a half or so.
Cool. All right, well, I guess I'm going to take off. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. We'll try to do it again in the next few days.
Yeah, I'll put a scan of this up on Twitter in just a few minutes.
Sounds great. All right,
Awesome.
everyone stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.